gospel for this morning comes from Luke, the 12th chapter, beginning at the 13th verse. Someone in the crowd said to Jesus, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the family inheritance with me." But he said to him, "Friend, who set me to be a judge or arbitrator over you?" And he said to them, "Take care, be on your guard against all kinds of greed, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of possessions." Then he told them a parable. The land of a rich man produced abundantly, and he thought to himself, "What should I do, for I have no place to store my crops?" Then he said, "I will do this. I will pull down my barns and build larger ones, and there I will store all my grain and my goods. And I will say to my soul, 'Soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, and be merry.' But God said to him, 'You fool, this very night your life is being demanded of you, and the things you have prepared, whose will they be?' So it is with those who store up treasures for themselves, but are not rich towards God." Here ends the gospel. Please be seated. Many who hear this parable wonder, why is the rich farmer called a fool? One could easily argue that the rich man is a wise and responsible person. He has a thriving farming business. His land has produced so much abundantly that he does not have enough storage space in his barns. So he plans to pull down his barns and build bigger ones to store all of his grains and goods. Then he will have ample savings set aside for the future and will be set to enjoy his golden years. Isn't that what we're encouraged to strive for? Isn't it wise and responsible for the future? The rich farmer would probably be a good financial advisor. He seems to have things figured out. He has worked hard and saved wisely. Now he can relax and enjoy the fruits of his labor. Right? Well, not exactly. There's one very important thing the rich man has not planned for: his reckoning with God. But God said to him, "You fool, this very night your life is being demanded of you, and the things you have prepared, whose will they be?" The rich farmer is a fool, not because he's wealthy or because he saves for the future, but because he appears to live only for himself, and because he believes that he can secure his life with his abundant possessions. When the rich man talks in this parable, he talks only about himself, only refers to himself. "I will say this to my soul. Soul, you have ample goods laid up for you for many years. Relax, eat, and be merry." The rich man's land had produced abundantly, yet he expresses no sense of gratitude to God or to the workers who helped him plant and harvest that bumper crop. He has more grains and good in storage than he could ever hope to use, yet seems to have no thought of sharing it with others, and no thought of what God might require of him. He is blind to the fact that his life is not his own, that his life belongs to God, and that God can demand it back at any time. The rich man learns the hard way. Quite simply, you can't take it with you. Have you ever seen a hearse with a trailer hitch? Our reality is no matter how much we have, we are already aware of things we don't have. We never quite feel that we have enough. Like the rich farmer, we are tempted to think that having large amounts of money and possessions stored up will make us secure. Sooner or later, however, we learn that no amount of wealth or property can secure our lives. No amount of wealth can protect us from disease or from a tragic accident. No amount of wealth can keep our relationships healthy and our families from falling apart. In fact, wealth and property can easily drive a wedge between family members. Most importantly, No amount of wealth can secure our lives with God. In fact, Jesus repeatedly warns that wealth can get in the way of our relationship with God. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of possessions. It's not that God doesn't want us to save for our retirement or future needs. It's not that God doesn't want us to eat, drink, and be merry and enjoy what God has given us. It's all about priorities. It's about who is truly God in our lives. Is it about how we invest our gifts that He's given us? Is it about how our lives are aligned towards ourselves and our passing desires, or toward God and our neighbor, towards God's mission to bless the world? A seasoned pastor once said, I've heard many regrets expressed by people nearing the end of their life. But there's one regret I've never heard expressed. I've never heard anyone say, I wish I hadn't given so much away. I wish I'd kept more for myself. Death has a way of clarifying what really matters. Our lives and our possessions are not our own. They belong to God. We are merely stewards of them for the time God has given us here on this earth. We rebel against this truth because we want to be in charge of our lives and our stuff. Yet this truth is actually good news, because all that we are and all that we have belongs to God. Our future is secure beyond all measure. So Jesus tells us, do not be afraid, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. In the parable of the rich fool is a story where a wealthy man focuses on accumulating possessions rather than preparing for the future or seeking spiritual wealth. The parable warns against the dangers of greed and the vanity of world possessions, emphasizing the importance of storing up treasure in heaven. The parable encourages believers to prioritize their relationship with God and seek His will above all else. The parable of the rich fool serves as a cautionary tale, urging believers to examine their priorities and seek spiritual richness rather than the pursuit of worldly possessions. There was a man who was charity of a nonprofit, and he called on a guy who was known as a miser. As someone would say, he was so tight he squeaked when he walked. The fundraiser went to the miser, and he said to him, our workers show that despite your wealth, you've never given to our drive. The miser responded, do your records show that I have an elderly mother who was left penniless when my father died? Do your records show that I have a disabled brother who is unable to work? Do your records show I have a widowed sister with small children who can barely make ends meet? No, sir, said the volunteer. Our records don't show any of that. Well, the miser said, I don't give to any of them, so why should I give to you? Remember, at the close of life, the question will not be how much we have got, but how much you have given. And I'd like to insert a song right here. It's in the Red Book, hymn number 685, Take My Life.
Take
There was a pastor, and he was invited to a dinner at the home of a wealthy man in Texas. And after the meal, the wealthy man led the pastor out onto the porch, and he pointed straight ahead at some trees, and he said, "All that's mine." And then he pointed over to his right, and there was a bunch of cattle. And he said, "They're all mine." And then he turned and looked out this way in the fields, and he said, "That too is all mine." And he stopped for a minute, and he waited for the pastor to pay him a compliment. But instead, the pastor asked him simply, and he pointed up to heaven, and he said, "How much do you have in that direction?" The man said, "I never thought about that." Just like the rich fool, most of us don't realize that we are just one breath away, or one heartbeat away, or one accident away from eternity. Like the rich fool, no one is ever prepared for the moment when they have to make peace with God. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett is a billionaire. He is the CEO of a company called Berkshire Hathaway. And he's donated more money to charity than any other billionaire in history. A lot of people in hope in becoming like Warren Buffett ask his advice. What should I do to become wealthy? What can I do to become a millionaire or a billionaire? He told them, the people you spend time with, your friends, your partner, even your coworkers can shape your future. If they are kind, honest, and caring, you'll be more like them. But if they bring out anger and sadness, that pain will follow you too. It's better to hang out with people like you. So in 1998, Warren Buffett spoke to a group of students at the University of Florida. And he said, if you had to pick a classmate to go into business with, what kind of classmate would you bring? He told them, you shouldn't pick the person with the best grades or the highest IQ. Instead, they should choose someone who is kind, honest, works hard every day, and has strong character. Now, Warren Buffett is a billionaire. And a lot of people would think he might live in New York City on Fifth Avenue or Park Avenue in a penthouse, a multi-billion-dollar penthouse. But guess where Warren Buffett actually lives? He lives in this Omaha, Nebraska, because that's where Berkshire Hathaway is headquartered. He still lives in the same house he bought in 1958 for $31,500. I don't know what kind of house you could buy today for $31,500, but that's where Warren Buffett lives. He continues to drive a 2014 Cadillac. And he bought that Cadillac at the dealership after a hailstorm. So he got a really good deal because it had hail damage. So he bought a hail damaged Cadillac, which they said he drives today. I don't know if that's true or not. But he has promised in his will that he's going to give away 99% of his wealth to charity. His life lessons teach all of us that real success isn't about how much money you make, the size of your house, the car you drive, or what you have. It's about staying humble and giving back. While I was doing research on greed, I came upon a story about a woman, and I really liked it a lot. Her name is Oskala McCarthy. She was born in 1908 in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. She was raised by her grandmother and her aunt, who cleaned houses and cooked and took in laundry. As a child, she'd come home from elementary school and iron clothes, stashing money she earned in her baby doll buggy. One day, her grandmother couldn't help anymore, so Miss McCarthy dropped out of 6th grade at the age of 11, and she started doing laundry. She said, I knew there were people who didn't have to work as hard as I did, but it didn't make me feel sad. I loved to work. And when you love to do something, those things don't bother you. Sometimes I worked straight through 2 or 3 days. I had goals I was working toward. That motivated me, and I was able to push hard. Work is a blessing. As long as I'm living, I want to be working at something. Just because I'm old doesn't mean I can't work. Good words, Ms. McCarthy. Her exemplary work ethic pursued straight through to her retirement at the age of 86. Apparently, she produced results that her customers appreciated. There are people there that have clothes that she had washed and starched still hanging in their closet today because they want to pull them out and look at what a good job she did. So people would ask, why did she go out every morning to a wash pot? I don't know how many of you know what a wash pot is. It's a big black pot. And she would fill it with 100 gallons of water from a fire hydrant. And then she would light the fire under the wash pot and the water would boil, and she'd bring the clothes in, and with a stick she would get the clothes in there and get them washed up. So someone asked her one time, why don't you use a washing machine and a dryer? This was back in the 60s. So she tried the washing machine and the dryer, and she didn't like it. She put the clothes through the washing machine 4 times, and then when she took them out of the dryer, she said, they don't look white, they look yellow. So she went back to her wash pot and started washing clothes again with a wash pot. She said, hard work gives your life meaning. Everyone needs to work hard at something to feel good about themselves. Every job can be done well, and every day has its satisfactions. If you want to feel proud of yourself, you got to do things you can be proud of. She worked and she saved her money. She went to the bank when she was young. She didn't know how to open an account at the bank, but she went. She didn't tell her grandmother or her aunt that she was going to the bank, and she put her money in. She ended up, when she retired in 1995, her hands were painfully swollen with arthritis. This washerwoman, who'd been paid in little piles of coins and dollar bills her entire life, had $280,000 in the bank. Even more startling is she decided to give away most of it. Not as a bequest after she died, but immediately, because she wanted to see the results of her hard work. When word got out what she had done, 600 people donated money to her because she went to the University of Southern Mississippi in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and started a scholarship fund. And that fund is still active today at the University of Southern Mississippi. She had a strong, virtuous character and good habits. She lived frugally, walking everywhere she could. She walked a mile to get her groceries. When she stayed in a hotel for the first time after coming to public attention, she made the bed before she checked out. In addition to the dignity of work, McCarthy's satisfactions were tireless ones. Faith in God, family closeness, and one of locale. She loved living in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. One friend described McCarthy's faith as simple as the Sermon on the Mount and as difficult to practice. She was baptized at the age of 13. She was dunked in a pond, all in white. I'm sure she watched it. And she washed her clothes that she was baptized in by hand in her wash pot. Like lots of philanthropists, Miss McCarthy knew that giving was its own pleasure. When a journalist from People magazine asked her why she didn't spend the money she'd saved on herself, she answered with a smile that thanks to the pleasures that come from making a gift, I am spending it on myself. I'm proud that I worked hard and that my money will help young people who worked hard and deserve it. I'm proud that I'm leaving something positive in this world. My only regret is that I didn't have more to give. And like a lot of philanthropists, Ms. McCarthy knew she didn't have to save the whole world. I can't do everything, but I can do something to help somebody. And what I can do, I will do. She deserves recognition not only for her own accomplishments, but as a representative of millions of everyday Americans who give humbly of themselves year after year. There are Ms. McCarthy's all across the USA. One of them is Gus and Marie Selinke, who were plumbers and a nurse. They lived quietly in a small house in Syracuse, New York. Their one indulgence was weekly square dancing. When they died, it was reported in 2012 this simple couple left more than $3 million to their beloved Catholic Church. Minnesota, we have to think about Minnesota Day because Pastor Hans is in Minnesota. There was a Minnesota farmer named Harbley Ardo who consumed modestly, invested prudently, and when he passed on, he left $4.5 million to 12 charities. The largest portion of his wealth went to a program that gives college scholarships to local kids. Millicent Atkins earned a teaching degree in 1940, but eventually left the profession to manage the family farm in South Dakota. She developed a keen eye for productive land and an appetite for buying. She eventually owned over 4,000 acres, and when she died in 2012, she left $38 million to 2 nearby universities and her church. One might quite accurately assume or to say that Ms. McCarthy and similar partners who make America the most gracious and generous nation on earth. I think it was in 2016 or about that time, there was a country singer, and his name is Tim McGraw. I don't know if y'all heard of Tim McGraw, but he's married to Faith Hill. Maybe you've heard of her. But he released a song, and it was called Always Be Humble and Kind. I'm not going to sing it, I'm going to read the lyrics to you. It said, go to the church because your mama says to. Visit grandpa every chance you can. It won't be wasted time. Always stay humble and kind. Hold the door, say please, say thank you. Don't steal, don't cheat, and don't lie. I know you got mountains to climb, but always stay humble and kind. When the dreams you're dreaming come to you, when the work you put in is realized, let yourself feel pride, but stay always humble and kind. Don't expect a free ride from no one. Don't hold a grudge, and here's why. Bitterness keeps you from flying. Always stay humble and kind. Hold the door, say please, say thank you. Don't steal, don't cheat, and don't lie. I know you got mountains to climb, but always stay humble and kind. When those dreams you're dreaming come true, when the work you put in is realized, let yourself be the pride. Always stay humble and kind. Don't take for granted the love this life gives you. When you get where you're going, don't forget to turn around and help the next in line. Always stay humble and kind. So the point of the parable of the rich fool is twofold. First, we're to devote our lives to the gathering, not to devote our lives to the gathering and accumulation of wealth. There's an interesting point to be made in the parable. God says to the man in this story, and the things you have prepared, who will they be? Whose will they be? What happens to all the wealth when they die? It gets left behind to others who didn't earn it and won't appreciate it. Furthermore, if money is your master, that means God is not. The second point, we are blessed to be a blessing in the lives of others, like Ms. McCarthy and those other people. The Bible says, riches increase, we are set not our hearts upon them. Finally, the Bible says we are to honor God with the first fruits of our increase. The point is clear. If we honor God with what He has given us, He will bless us more so that we can honor him with more. We are blessed by God, so we can turn in to be a blessing in the lives of others. Don't take for granted what this life gives you. When you get where you're going, don't forget to turn around and help the next person in line. Always stay humble and kind. Amen. What is our sermon?
Number 40, He Lives.
Oh, he lives. Number 40. Please stand.